Good morning. Good morning. We are actually taping this on Friday, so we're coming at you a little early. You're going to be watching this on Monday. Right now, it is Friday. We're waiting for those thunderstorms to come in. Ian, how has your week been? Are you ready for the weekend? I am very ready for the weekend.
Let's just say I'm ready for the weekend. I think that it's been a long week, and I'm ready to take a break before another long week hits.
That's right. And it has been a long week, not just for us and most of the world, I think, but up at the Capitol, we are really getting into the nitty gritty. We're coming down to the wire when it comes to the budget. You were tracking a bill this week, I think 1124, which did not pass, which is part of this, sales tax and revenue discussion that we're having ahead of the budget. So I'm going to let you kick it off with 1124.
Yeah, so if you watched, I'm going to say last week's episode, even though it was like this week's episode for us, but if you watched last week's episode, we talked about this new estimate of the budget shortfall, and so senators are trying to figure out how to address that. And one of the things that they talked about doing was raising the cigarette tax by $1. So right now it's like 64 cents per pack or something like that. And they would be raising it to $1.64, which I think one of the problems with that is that Missouri has like the lowest cigarette tax in the country, if I remember right. And so they're worried about people leaving the state of Nebraska to go to Missouri to buy cigarettes. But that's, I mean, between you and me, I'm from Missouri. That's a bit of a trek to make that happen. But, I don't know. Maybe you're saving enough, you're desperate, but I don't think you'd make it up from gas mileage.
Especially when we're talking about gas prices that have gone up. I think when I filled up 2 weeks ago, it was like $2.52. When I drove by that same gas station today, $2.99. So when you're looking at the offset of gas prices, I don't think that's a really valiant argument here. One of the things they talked about too was pulling back some of those school choice scholarships that Governor Pillen promoted in his State of the State. That was $3.5 million, and then the possibility of furloughing state employees that came up. So we're really in this nitty gritty of the budget, and they are looking for anywhere that they can get that funding.
Well, they're really running out of time to figure out what they're going to do with funding. They have to have that to the governor's desk before the end of the month. And so they're really going to have some problems trying to get that done and get any other legislating done. I think right now it's this thing where they just don't know what to do at all because there's certain things that they've, whoever has said what, and they've made these promises because they're politicians. They make promises to people. Nobody wants to break their promise of, well, I said we're not going to tax whatever. And so now I think they're in this spot of, well, somebody's probably going to have their promise broken. And I don't think anybody wants to do that yet. And so I think they're playing a game of chicken with the budget. That's my tinfoil hat, though. That's what I am reading the tea leaves as. I don't have any evidence for this.
And all of this reporting this week done by our friends over at the Examiner, part of State's Newsroom. Please make sure you're reading the Examiner as well. Yeah. These are the dedicated folks that are sitting in meetings we simply can't be in. They're sitting in hearings that we just simply cannot be in because of deadline, and we work really closely with them. Aaron, Zach, Aaron Bamer, all of these people that are working for the Examiner.
They're wonderful.
These are incredible people. We hope that you're reading their content. It's free to read. We are very thankful that we have it. One of the things that they actually quoted in this story on the cigarette tax was Kenny Zoller, who directs Governor Pillen's Policy Research Office, saying that if the budget failed, it would require, quote, across-the-board cuts. And we know that's a thing that they're going to have to look at. The budget has to be on Pillen's desk by March 25th. There's no way around that. And now we're coming into, it is the 6th today. We are less than 20 days. Not all of those are
19
work days.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us with the budget? We are required by law to have a balanced budget, and having that is going to definitely require some finagling over the next few weeks that we're going to be watching.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of deal making. There's going to be a lot of people who are probably unhappy with what happens, and I think it'll be interesting because right now the lawmakers are in the group of, well, who do we, I'm trying to think of a nice word here, Darsha. Who do we inconvenience?
Yeah.
And that's going to be really the debate that they're having is who do we inconvenience, who gets the short end of the stick at this point.
This is the thing that you have to watch anytime that you're going into a session is there are all of these things that Senator X wants done and there's all these things that Senator Y wants done, but there's no possible way to get to legislating every single thing you want, despite the fact that Nebraska does very well at making sure that every bill gets a public hearing at least. There's just simply no way in the time frame that we have, especially, again, we are in a short session. This is a 60-day session. We are literally a month shorter than we would normally have, and we are in a budget deficit. And so there was other reporting by Aaron Bamer at the Examiner. Aaron, who is absolutely incredible and has always been a friend to us here at 1011. We really appreciate the work that she's doing. So we just wanted to break down really quickly. We touched on this last week, and we're actually dedicating our entire day today up at the Capitol to talking to the fiscal office and talking to the senators on the Appropriations Committee. But we wanted to take a quick look at where the budget is right now. So there's going to be a graphic pop up on the screen. $471 million. That is where we started on January 7th. We started at a $471 million deficit. By last week, when the Economic Forecasting Board met, that number had grown to $646 million. Big number.
It's a huge growth.
Huge number. And so between cutting things like budgets here and there, they moved $130 million out of the rainy day fund. They moved a little more than $11 million out of the environmental trust. Those cuts, they were able to cut that budget down to about 120. So you're probably asking why it says 140. Because there was some math mistakes that were done when it came to calculating the deficit. I will be the first to admit that even doing 500 minus 140, I would have needed a calculator to do that. No shame in admitting that. I am not good at math. I never trust my math, and neither should you. That's why other people look at these graphics. But retroactive payments for Medicaid participants are a big part of why that number was off. $140 million is still a big number when you're less than 20 days, less than 3 weeks from needing to put a balanced budget on the governor's desk. So we are going to spend a lot of time in the next few weeks figuring out where that money is going to come from. There is a bill, I believe it's 901, I think. 901 was a sales and use tax rate change. What they did is they left the number of what they would change the sales tax rate to blank. It's kind of a formula for them to help attack the budget later and get that balanced. That actually, they did some amendments to that bill, and something interesting that's coming out of that is the potential for a domestic violence related fund called the Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Service Providers Tax Credit Act.
And it's much needed. And I think some of those even go to, I think some of those are earmarked for reservations, if I was reading that correctly. And I know that is correct. That is definitely something that is needed. It's a big problem.
That's $240,000 of tax credits distributed equally among DV and sexual assault programs run by tribal governments. And the $1,044,000 of tax credits to other organizations and nonprofits that operate things like shelters. When this came up in the legislature, there was obviously a lot of testifiers on that. The Nebraska Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence Coalition testified on that as well. And we know it was just a few months ago that $3 million shortfall came out, where this $3 million that was earmarked to go to domestic violence didn't. That money wasn't there. It wasn't distributed. The Flatwater Free Press did a really good in-depth piece on where that money was supposed to go, especially in a year like last year. I mean, we did this hour-long streaming special on domestic violence. We covered numerous horrific domestic violence cases. And there was enough public backlash from that money eventually did materialize, is the word I will use, and get distributed. But of course, we know that is never really enough to get
that money had to come from somewhere, and it had to go somewhere, and it was spent, and it probably wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm. So another thing that got wrapped into that bill was removing some sales tax exemptions for things like data centers. Cemeteries was a big one. Actually, Wyuka Cemetery here in Lincoln had testified against that. When you're taking tax credits from one place and moving them to another, like you said earlier, we're always having to inconvenience someone. So we'll be following this to see where this amendment goes. This is a committee priority bill. They are going to touch on this if they're not already on it, then they'll be on it in the next 15 minutes or so. Of course, again, this is Friday. You're watching this on Monday, so we're tracking that. Many things could change over the course
I'll
of the
spoil
day.
it. I do have this stream pulled up, and they just went to 900, which is a Lenusky bill, by the way.
Oh wow, we are almost there. So
yeah.
As soon as we're done here, we'll be heading up to the Capitol. Ian and I will be following this closely. We are hoping, like we talked about before the show, to have a special guest or two come on and actually really help us break down the budget and where it stands. This is so critical for Nebraska. This is something that's going to impact every single Nebraskan. We just want to make sure that we're bringing you the most clear, up-to-date reporting on that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That is it for this Monday episode that you're watching, filmed on a Friday. We hope you all had a great weekend. By the time you're watching this, I will probably be standing in line at the DMV. So, great day off for me, I guess. I enjoy the DMV.
There you go.
We'll see how it goes. Ian, have a spectacular
Here's what I'll
weekend.
say, Darsha. Run, Darsha, run.
Run, Darsha, run. We will see you guys next week. As always, if there's anything you want us to cover, make sure you shoot us an email or give the station a phone call so we can get on it.
Have a great one, gang.
Have a great one.